Well, good morning, everyone. We are back for another episode of NFL Fantasy Matchup. There, everyone is on bye weeks. There's the London games beginning, but yes, we had a wonderful, wonderful Thursday night football game, with the exception, Jed and Jim, Bijan Robinson did not score a touchdown and win me a lot of money.
Yes, agree. That messed us up. I was thought for sure. I kept looking at the box score. I wasn't able to watch, but I kept looking at the box score going, how come he's not getting more carries? So,
Yes.
Kirk Cousins, I think that's in 5. So this is week 5. I think that's 3 fourth quarter comeback games or overtime comeback games for Kirk now. He's growing a new fan base in Atlanta.
Do you think Kirk Cousins is the real deal now? Do you think he's kind of gotten into that place where he's pretty good now?
Personally, I think he still has room to grow. If you look at his first half stats, he's always not doing so well. But there's definitely optimism. I sat Kyle Pitts, and Pitts had he didn't have a touchdown, but I think he had 6 or 7 receptions. He's definitely a growing. And Drake London, if you waited on Drake London, good for you. So he's definitely up and coming. Although I would rather have Baker Mayfield. I did start Baker Mayfield. He looked great. I've been very happy with him.
Jim, the one thing they did show is the very fact that his Achilles still doesn't give him power, that when he plants, he's still underthrowing the ball. And so as a result, that may have been what happened with the interception as well, too. But Jed, with Bijan Robinson, there was the Darnell Mooney touchdown and the Hodges. And I kept sitting there, tackle him. Come on. I just need Bijan Robinson to run from the 3-yard line. And that's all I need.
Yeah, and by the way, Darnell Mooney, I think Darnell Mooney now is definitely someone you can think about. That's 3 solid weeks in a row. So it feels like if Atlanta keeps going this direction, Mooney could be a viable starter.
Mooney, had 2 touchdowns? Bijan Robinson yesterday, they said in terms of betting, the best, the most favorite prop bet yesterday was Bijan Robinson scoring a touchdown. And they were saying how so many people lost because of that.
Yeah.
If he had scored, I would have gotten another $50 on the prop bet. But at the same time, I can't go wrong with Drake London. I couldn't go wrong. The only one that I did not put a prop bet on was Darnell Mooney, because I didn't realize how good he was with those 2 touchdowns. But other than that, Drake London as well as Godwin and Mike Evans did really, really well. Bucky did not do well. They were giving it to Rashad White.
Yeah, Mike Evans, I want to look up. He's got to be one of the touchdown leaders now for wide receivers because he has been so consistent. I think he scored in 4 out of the 5 weeks now, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm. Even Chris Godwin got 60 yards receiving, and that was his lowest output in the last couple of weeks as well, too. So he's actually doing pretty well.
Yeah. Well, but the game was really good. That shootout. I really thought that Atlanta was going to win, and I was just rooting for them to just drive and score that field goal. Yeah. Jed, even as we're looking at Jim and Jed, here's a couple of notes. Love to get your thoughts on it as we look through all of these with bye weeks and all that other stuff. Is there a tight end? Sam Laporta, all those guys, a good number of tight ends are out. Is there a tight end that you're looking at right now that is on the waiver wire? For instance, I'm looking at Tucker Kraft over at Green Bay as a fill-in. What do you guys think of a Tucker Kraft, or is there a tight end that you're looking at, especially with the Sam Laporta and Mark Andrews struggling and Sam Laporta on bye?
Yeah, so I'm laughing because I'm wondering if in our 1K league. So in our 1K league, I did pick up Cade Otton from Tampa Bay. He did okay. Looks like he had 3 receptions for 44 yards. And I have picked up Kraft on Green Bay. It's a good tight end pickup. I think the main point here is, though, this is the week I'm sitting Mark Andrews across all of my teams. I'm tired of. I'm not waiting for him anymore. I think the Baltimore Ravens, even Isaiah Likely. I would be less hesitant to sit him because I think he's still really the true number 1 there. But Baltimore is not utilizing their tight ends from a passing perspective. They're really using them for blocking. And so I'm actually thinking I might drop Mark Andrews in a couple weeks. But yeah, that's a good call. the Green Bay tight end and the Tampa Bay tight end are good pickups.
And I think part of it is they were saying that with Derrick Henry coming in, right, they really not utilized their tight end because they've been running the ball so much more because of Derrick Henry. And I don't think Mark Andrews is completely healed as well, too. So that's one of the reasons why I kept Isaiah Likely, because you're right. I still think he's the number one tight end. And if they're going to go choose between those two, it's going to be Isaiah Likely. But they have not been thrown to their tight ends. So, by the way, just as a point of fact, Mike Evans is number 4 in terms of total touchdowns for the season. So he's got 5. Ahead of him are a bunch of running backs. Derrick Henry was 6. Kamara was 6. Kyron Williams was 6. So Mike Evans is number 1 in terms of receivers.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Another one for you, anyone looking for a tight end, Pat Freiermuth out of Pittsburgh. I think that's not a bad pickup as well. He might be sitting on your waiver wire. So there's definitely plenty out there. So you should be looking.
Don't you guys like how these former Bears, Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney, are doing so much better? Yeah.
I still think Justin Fields in Pittsburgh, I think it's fool's gold. I think they've just been lucky for these first few.
Really? No, I actually think they're pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it's real.
Yeah. But yeah, at the same time, Jed, they are playing a bad or subpar Dallas defense on Sunday night. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think there's potential for a lot of points there. So I think that's something you want to hit. Actually, this week's slate of games, I was looking, there's not a lot of great games. It's a lot of bad teams playing one another. And so there's not, other than there's the, who is it? Kansas City. 49ers and the Cardinals. I think that'll be fun to watch. And then the Bills and the Texans. I think that could be a lot of fun to watch. But otherwise, there's not a lot of great games.
Jim, I'm going to ask Jed first, and I'm going to go over to you. Is it time to bench Patrick Mahomes and start a Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, or all these other quarterbacks over? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in week 5. We've always said the first 2 weeks are it's basically like a preseason, so you can't see trends. Week 3 and week 4, you should start seeing whatever trends. By week 5, I think is when you make the decision, okay, I'm tired of waiting, for example, on a Mark Andrews. I sat Dak Prescott to start Baker Mayfield. So I do think you have to start thinking about sitting someone or someone like Mahomes, looking at it by the matchup and just really being crystal clear on, okay, is there someone who, especially with the better matchup, Sam Darnold, for example, this week I'm sitting, I think Darnold is playing the Jets. They're over in London, right? So that's a tough defense to play against, but I think, you definitely have to start making those moves now because you can start seeing trends over 4 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. Going with what you said, Tom, the top 3 quarterbacks for this year: Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield in terms of yards, right? So those are the top 3. You could have gotten them in the last 2 rounds if you waited, and those are the ones that are scoring the points this year.
Yeah, and by the way, Geno Smith is on a lot of people's waivers. He's going to be top 10. He's going to end the year top 10. He's playing the Giants this week. That's another good start. Yeah. He should have a great game at home against the Giants.
And Geno Smith has got 3 really good receivers, right? Tyler Lockett last week had 80 yards. You got Enigma, and then you also got Metcalf. And
Metcalf was great last week.
Yeah, and Kenneth Walker. Whether it's Walker or Charbonnet, his offense is actually pretty good. He just doesn't have a tight end.
Man, Walker I wish Walker could stay healthy because in that game last Sunday, he looked amazing. He was so fast.
It was funny. So Tommy sent us a text showing us that he was really close. And I remember just an hour earlier, Peyton in our 1K league just texted me and says, "Looks like I'm going to go undefeated again this year." And then he texted me again. He says, "I can't believe Kenneth Walker just scored 30 points."
There is something about Kenneth Walker that when he is healthy and is playing, he is excellent. The problem is his health, whether or not he can stay healthy. That's always been his problem. But when he plays, he just does a great job.
Yeah. You got to ask yourself, though. Yeah.
With Kansas City, a lot of times with Rashee Rice. Now, at the same time, they thought that he tore his ACL. Yeah. They probably won't have a definitive answer until Monday. Now, he's still going to be out a good portion of the year. He may come back for the playoffs and all that stuff. But with Rashee Rice gone, would you have higher hopes in Juju Smith or Travis Kelce to get back on track?
Xavier Worthy. No, Xavier Worthy, man.
No. Yeah, Xavier Worthy, like you said, it's going to be number one. I do think Kareem Hunt is going to end up being the number one running back for that team just because they're so used to the system. I don't know what's going on with Travis Kelce these days. Like I don't know if he's just old, and I don't know if he's. I mean, even Noah Fant, they've been throwing him out, or Noah Gray. Noah Gray, they've been throwing him out even more so than Travis Kelce. But I think Xavier Worthy is the person that you want to pay attention to.
No, but I have high hopes for Kelsey. So to
Yeah.
me, this is a real benefit to him. If you drafted Kelsey, I have him on one team, and now like I am definitely starting him. Like, I think he's going to pick up some of the slack for Rashid
Yeah.
Rice. I think Xavier Worthy will as well, but I think you're going to see Kelsey these next few weeks. So if anyone in your league is down on him, I would make him a trade
Yeah.
target because I think he's really going to potentially go up.
Jed, I am going all over and making trade offers for Kelsey because I really believe he will be a target machine. Rashid Rice was running some of the routes that Kelsey was running. And so now with Rice gone, he's going back to Kelsey. And I am sitting there making all these trades. It's the same thing with Sam Laporta. That's one of the things. Now, like or hate it, I traded for Murray as well as Sam Laporta, and I traded away Lamar Jackson. Now, is that a risk? But I really, really believe in Sam Laporta and these tight ends.
Okay, do you guys believe in Travis Kelce, or do you believe more in an Xavier Worthy to do better
Travis
now that
Kelce.
Rashid Rice is gone?
Yeah,
Really,
Kelsey. I would say
I think it's
Kelsey,
going to be Worthy. I think Worthy. Kelsey can only go so far. They need a top wide receiver. They've always worked well with a top wide receiver, and I think that's who Mahomes is going to look for as well too.
And then my argument with Xavier Worthy, he's a rookie. Mahomes is going with the tried and true. Travis Kelce got him there. Kareem Hunt got him there a long time ago. Go with the veterans and see what happens.
I'll tell you this, though. I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes. He's been scoring, 14, 15 fantasy points every week. I mean, the guys like Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, they look attractive. I don't think I'll ever dump Mahomes, but there's a part of me that says if I want some good points being scored, I may have to look towards Mahomes because he's just not been. I mean, maybe things will change, right? Now that Rashid Rice is gone, he's got that long bomb with Xavier Worthy. Kelsey might come on board. Maybe he's gotten better, but right now he's only scoring me about 14, 15 points.
Yeah. Jim, Devontae Adams, at the end of the day, do you believe that he'll end up in New Orleans or New York Jets?
No, I think I was reading. I don't know. I mean, they've thrown around Dallas, they've thrown around Pittsburgh, they've thrown around the Jets. My thought, even the Bears. Did you see that the Bears were kind of throwing around and making some noise that maybe that they might go after them? I think the most likely place is going to have to be the Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to push for them to go after Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I just hope he gets traded. I hope he doesn't stay in Vegas. It's a wasted talent. And fantasy wise, it'd just be fun. I always love when trades happen that impact fantasy.
Yeah.
And this would obviously be a huge one.
Who's going to benefit the most from Devontae Adams leaving then?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, man. Vegas is just. I feel like there's not a ton of points to go around there.
Brock Bowers is probably the one that benefits the most.
Yeah, he hasn't been doing too well, though. See, I actually think Trey Tucker more than Jacoby Myers. I think Bowers is still doing pretty good, but I think Trey Tucker, if you were to pick a wide receiver, I think Trey Tucker is the person you want to pay attention to.
Oh, by the way, too, just again, like I was saying, week 5 is the week you need to make tough decisions. I actually last week started sitting Tyreek Hill. So, a good example, Dolphins, when they lost Tua, both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, those are not guys I'm starting anymore. I'm not dropping them. I'm keeping them on my bench, but I am not starting those guys anymore until they figure out the quarterback play.
Jed, even Achane, 10 carries, 15 yards. Oh, it's terrible for me. It was terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Did you guys listen to the Deion Sanders interview yesterday? He was on a podcast with Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco, and he was pushing hard for the Dolphins to draft his son as quarterback. And so he was saying, he's like, I don't think Tua should come back. And they're going to lose a lot of games. They're going to get a number 1 pick. And who they should go after? My son. So they were saying that he was pushing him.
Yeah, the Dolphins are playing the Patriots this week. I mean, again, horrible game. It's probably going to be 3-0 or something.
Yeah.
But both teams are really not looking good, although I think the Patriots are going to win that one.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, Jed, going with the Patriots, a lot of times Jimmy made me a trade and he got Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson has gotten a lot of fumbles to the point that his coach is coming back and says Antonio Gibson may start games if he continues to fumble. What do you think of Antonio Gibson here, Jed?
Yeah, that's interesting. But no, I personally, I don't, you guys know, I do not like taking players on really bad teams because I don't think there's touchdowns. And so that would be my concern. Although this week, because it's two bad teams playing each other, Dolphins and Patriots, there might be a lot of points. So that's not a bad idea if you need a running back.
Yeah. Jim, Jonathan Taylor of the Colts will probably be missing a few weeks with the high ankle sprain. What are your outlooks? Because Anthony Richardson, there's a good chance that he will play. Look, I wish Flacco was playing because it does help with a lot wide receivers. But with Flacco potentially not playing, Anthony Richardson playing, what are your thoughts on Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think Taylor's going to be out, right? So in our 1K league, did you see that someone dumped Anthony Richardson?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I didn't see that.
So somebody dumped Anthony Richardson. And one of the players called me on our league, and he's like, should I pick up Anthony Richardson and dump Jared Goff? And I was like, yeah. Even if, let's just say that he does pretty good, even if you have another solid quarterback, you at least now have a trade chip that you can use down the road to be able to trade. I was actually really surprised that this person dumped Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, no, I see that in our league, and I totally missed that. I would have jumped on that as well. So that was a good pickup in our league. So in our 1K league, Jordan, whoever's Jordan team, got him for $5.
Yeah,
that is cheap.
Yeah,
for the person who dropped him, the Cleveland Streamers, picked up Derek Carr and dropped Anthony Richardson.
See, no, I was like, why would you pick up a Derek Carr? Like, Anthony Richardson, even though he's not good, has a higher ceiling. Now, what I'm saying, though, is a Michael Pittman, a Josh Downs, all of these wide receivers are going to benefit so much more with Joe Flacco potentially starting this week.
Yeah. That's really interesting. The only argument for the New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr is a lot of times Clint Kubiak has been a great offensive coordinator, and they have been doing well offensively, and he has played all of the snaps. Contrast that to Anthony Richardson. You don't know when he's going to play, and he really has been subpar recently. That's the only thing that we'll argue for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I just would keep him. I would have kept him on my bench. Although I do like that we have a short bench, a shorter bench, and so it is a tough decision you have to make.
No, but I think we've talked about it before. that league has nothing. Like I'm down now that I have Jahmyr Gibbs not playing this week, and I actually have Jonathan Taylor most likely going to the IR. I'm playing Zach Charbonnet and whatever Antonio Gibson are the running backs I have. So there's nothing out there in terms of players.
You could pick up Trey. Well, I picked up Trey Sermon in that league. Thinking he would start behind Jonathan Taylor.
I think he'll get at least 2 or 3 starts. Trey Sermon. I think he'll do pretty good. Yeah. So
Jim, Jed, if you could name who is the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week?
Oh, it's the punter from the Bears.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
He was awesome.
Great punter. Yeah. And also, what do you think is going to happen on presidential election day? What else is happening on that day? The NFL trade deadline is on that day.
Nice. Very
really?
Important.
The NFL trade deadline and the presidential election are all happening on the same day.
Hey, Tom, I'm going to pause real fast. I got to pick up this phone call.
Okay, got it. Jed, let me ask you a quick question. Speculation that ETN is on the market. What do you think of ETN?
Well, I'm worried about. So again, we've been all waiting for Jacksonville to turn things around, right? And everyone's expecting them. Hey, you got to somehow come out of this. I'm almost wondering if now, no, it's not just a trend. Jacksonville really is as bad as they have looked. They're playing the Colts this week at home. They should be able to win this game, but if they lose again, this is feeling like remember when Miami was losing all those games, when Patriots not playing. I mean, this is really starting to feel like a trend that this team is just terrible. So that makes me want to stay away from ETN.
Don't you get the sense that Trevor Lawrence, a lot of times he was up. He either has flattened or has gotten worse as the year progresses. And he actually will end up being a bust because he just cannot make the accurate throws.
Yep, exactly. He's just missing too much. Christian Kirk, I'll say, did have a decent game last week, so it was like a decent pickup. But I've been really surprised. I thought Jacksonville would be a lot better. So that is one team that I'm starting to stay away from now.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels, do you think he's the best player in the NFC right now?
Oh, the real deal. Jaden. And again, this is a really good game. So the Browns are playing Washington in Washington. So this is a good test game to be like, okay, are the Commanders as good as we think they are? They should win this game. But man, Jaden Daniels, if you have him, just keep riding that. This is also why I made a trade for Terry McLaurin. I traded David Montgomery,
I saw that.
McLaurin, which is a huge. I think I gave up a lot, but I really feel like Jaden Daniels is going to continue to play well. McLaurin is his number one, and I think that it's going to continue to rise. So I have high hopes.
Yeah.
So the Washington Commanders under Jaden Daniels, I think he is killing Caleb Williams. You have Lamar Jackson 2.0. Not only is he just running, but he's very strategic when he runs. But the guy is accurate and has his decision making in terms of how he's able to spread it around and the receivers. The guy is outstanding right now as a quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, he's made 86% of his passes. He was NFC Player of the Month.
Insane.
I mean, that guy is amazing, right? Like, I mean, Caleb is fine, but they were actually I don't know if it's a big deal or not, but they were talking about how him and DJ Moore just haven't connected, and you can see it all over DJ Moore's face as well too.
Yeah. Hey, with the London game, in terms of the New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings, a lot of times, Chad, Jordan Addison, he's been doing well. He's been doing very, very well in this last game.
Yeah, if anyone was listening, exactly. If anyone was listening to the podcast, I said pick up Addison. He was hurt. People dropped him, and man, the guy looked great. And so again, this is where you have to follow, and this is where you can't just draft well. You got to follow and pick up things in the league. He's looking good. This is an important game for Sam Darnold and the Vikings to show that they're for real. They should beat the Jets. They are a better team than the Jets. They should handle business, and Addison is a great pickup.
You know what this game is, right? It's a revenge game for Sam Darnold. Remember, he's playing against the former team that drafted him. Right? Yep. So he's going to have even more incentive to want to play well. So actually, there's that factor involved.
I love that. Actually, I forgot. Yeah. I totally forgot about that. I love those. That's going to make me want to. I'm starting to pick my parlays.
Yeah,
that's going to make me want to add the Vikings to that.
Yeah. No, seriously, the Jordan Addison thing. We were on last week when you said it, and remember, I forgot who I dumped. I think I dumped like Ty J. Spears or something like that, to pick him up, and that was such a great pickup because I needed a wide receiver, and that guy did well for me last week.
Yeah. Amazingly, a lot of times with Minnesota, their offense, but not only that, their defense has been great. So if you need a defensive team, it's not Dallas, it's not Baltimore. Minnesota is someone that I've been looking at picking across the board because they have been outstanding.
But Tommy, what are you doing about Garrett Wilson on the Jets? This guy has been very disappointing. I've been surprised because Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked bad. I feel like he's got the mobility, he's got the access. I just don't understand why they're not peppering Garrett Wilson constantly.
Yeah. And a lot of times they're throwing to all these other receivers. You're throwing it over to Mike Williams and all of that stuff.
Yeah, Lazard.
Yes. Yeah. And so a lot of times I've been frustrated because all during training camp, it was, wow, look at the connection between Garrett Wilson. And because of all that report, I picked them up and I've been very disappointed because Aaron Rodgers throws the ball and he throws the deep ball. That's why I'll pick them up.
Well, and especially if they're going to go after, let's say they do end up getting Davante Adams, that's going to bring Garrett Wilson's value even lower because you're going to have Lazard, you're going to have Davante Adams, right? You got Breece Hall there. I don't think Garrett Wilson's I think he's gonna feel squeezed out of that.
Yeah. Another question I think is the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Ravens are playing the Bengals in Cincinnati. The question is, are you bailing on Cincinnati players? Joe Burrow. Well, Jamar Chase had a good week last week, but do you think they're going to turn things around, or is this like they really are bad because they're 1-3?
No, I mean T. Higgins actually did pretty good last week. Burrows did pretty good. I think they got two good running backs, Chase Brown as well as Zach Moss. I wouldn't say Burrows has been elite, but I actually think that they had a good chance to win this last game, I think they'll be fine. I think at least fantasy wise. I don't know if they're going to make the
Yeah.
playoffs or anything, but fantasy wise, I think they'll be fine.
Now, if you're really, really desperate with some of the tight ends struggling, Gesicki is the one that for you to look at. That's if you're really desperate. But Chase Brown does sit there and take away a lot of carries from Zach Moss. And I think a lot of times in the future, you're going to see more and more Chase Brown. But Zach Moss still has value, probably as your third running back or probably as a flex play.
Chase Brown is actually still out on a number of waiver wires. I picked him up this past week. And I think for people who are listening, Chase Brown is actually a pretty good addition. Like Tommy said, I think Zach Moss will always be there, but I think Chase Brown would be somebody that you might really seriously consider picking up.
Yeah. Hey, guys, New York Giants and Seattle Seahawks with Malik Neighbors not playing. Man, Seattle is going to dominate Daniel Jones in terms of their defense.
I didn't see that Neighbors isn't playing.
Most likely he will not be playing with concussion.
Okay.
I saw this really good thing that they were saying that State Farm Insurance should pick up Neighbors so that they can say like a good neighbor. I was like, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
You know, I will say I missed Neighbors as the pickup because I thought for sure with Daniel Jones, he was not, but man, he has looked I think you can make an argument that he should have been picked over Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been great, but Neighbors has been really phenomenal. I mean, two wide receivers in the top 5 that have been really great.
Yeah.
And the Giants have always been on him ever since they really wanted Neighbors above all else. And as a result, they were locked in. They did a very, very good job of evaluating him.
So if Neighbors is out this week, you guys picking up a Wendell Robinson?
That's not a bad move. Wendell has been getting, you can look at his averages, more than 5-6 receptions a game. All he's got to do is get a touchdown in there, and all of a sudden his points are going to skyrocket. So I think that's a really good pickup if you need a wide receiver.
And plus, who else would you have besides Wendell Robinson? Devin Singletary, Tracy? But there really is no one out there besides that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Singletary would be the only other player that you would consider. But with the offense like Seattle's going to decimate. If Neighbors truly is not playing, Seattle's going to decimate New York this week.
Yeah. What do you guys think about? So New Orleans is playing the Chiefs on Monday night. New Orleans, after that crazy hot start, right? They were scoring like 40 points a week. They've now lost a couple. They're 2-2, playing the Chiefs 4-0. Do you think New Orleans is like, are they really a good team like they looked like the first 2 weeks, or are they now coming back to the, down to earth and like really not that good of a team, which is what I thought.
Yeah.
I would imagine
if I had to look for it, I would probably say it would probably be a 17-14 type of game in the favor of Kansas City. They still have a decent decent defense as well, too. And I think so. It's going to be a medium size. It's not going to be a high scoring game. It's going to be kind of a boring game with drives and a lot of times, but field goals and all of that stuff. But I'm not anticipating a very high score.
Yeah. Jed, you have it in front of you. Who's favorite to win that game?
The Chiefs are favored by 5.5.
Oh, that's pretty high. Yeah,
exactly. That's why if you think it's going to be a tight game like that, Tommy, then it's definitely a good move to take the Saints. But yeah, they're also not expecting a huge blowout because the total points is 43, which is about in the middle. Like
yeah. I was thinking that it could be like a pick 'em or something like that.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about our favorite team, a revenge game for Andy Dalton. How do you think the Bears are going to do against Carolina? Hey, look, I actually think Andy Dalton, might air it out because Deontay Johnson and Hubbard has been doing excellent.
I picked up on the Panthers that Xavier Leggett or something.
Oh, Leggett, the number one. Yeah. The rookie. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I was like, I could see this being a game that the Panthers have looked different. So you guys know, I've been saying, do not pick up Panthers. As soon as they started Andy Dalton, all of a sudden the offense looks so much better. So I think you can start looking at those players. I am scared for the Bears. This is a game they should win. And that's exactly the kind of game that the Bears win. So I'm really scared.
And Jed and Jim, Hubbard has gotten me an average about 19, 20 points a game.
Wow. That's really pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, Jonathan Brooks is going to come back in the next couple of weeks, though. Do you think at some point Hubbard's going to become second fiddle to him?
Yes, and that's why I'm trying to trade Hubbard across everyone, hoping that someone will take him, and not realizing Jonathan is coming back. And so I've been trying to trade
Yeah.
Hubbard
Yeah.
all week.
I do hope the Bears. I do hope the Bears will end up winning this game. Because it would
Oh
show
yeah.
how bad. And right now, there's such a distance between Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. If they lose this game, I think the critics are going to come down even harder on the Bears.
Yeah. The one thing I do get frustrated with Caleb Williams is he can't sustain drives. And it always seems like it's 3 and out, 3 and out. Maybe they'll get one first down, but they can't sustain consistent long drives.
Well, I think it's the same stuff we saw in college, which is that he holds the ball too long. Like he still needs to make the decisions faster. And I just don't know if that's offensive scheme or not, though, because it feels like if you know that has a tendency to hold on for it too long, it's like force him to get those quick first and second reads out the door.
Yeah.
But it just feels like sometimes he just hesitates.
I do wonder if sometimes the Bears make their offense more difficult than it really should be, right? Because if you look at, let's just say, a Jaden Daniels, even a Geno Smith and some of these, it seems like the quarterback it's so much easier, right? Like they're able to look at the receivers. It's more smooth. The Bears are always a little clunky, and there's always mistakes along the way, penalties, all that other stuff as well too. And so sometimes I just don't know if they just make things more difficult than it should be.
One quick note: we've talked about Jaden Daniels on Washington. Brian Robinson Jr. I have him in a couple, leagues. The running back for Washington. He's been a great pickup off of the waivers. Like not like flashy, but can still get you, 10, 15 points a week.
Yeah.
Not a bad pickup either.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Hey, if you were to look at the morning games, the 12 o'clock games, the 9:30 in the morning games, as well as the 3 o'clock games, I usually like to pick one game and start working on the parlays. Is there one game that you like? You're sitting there, let's aim at this one game. You should look at that particular game, and these players are going to do well.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. If you look at it right now, you want to look at the Jets and Vikings game because it is a revenge game, right? So if you're looking at a parlay, I'm saying that Darnold will at least get one touchdown out of that game. And I would say that you're going to get a touchdown from either Jefferson or Jordan Addison as well too. I would potentially pick both of them.
So I just opened up my app just to see. So and I actually do the same thing, Tommy. I like picking parlays from the first set of games. I don't like mixing across the day because I like to know by the end of the morning like what has happened. And so my morning parlay is I've got the Patriots, who are 1-point favorites against the Dolphins. I got the Vikings, who are 2.5-point favorites against the Jets, and then I got the Commanders, who are 3.5-point favorites against Cleveland. So that's my morning three, and I like 3-team and 4-team parlays. By the way, these 5, 6, 7-team parlays, those are much harder to hit. If you stick with just 3 or 4, you have a chance to hit and get a payout between 1 to 4 or 1 to 6, which is a pretty good return on whatever money you put in.
Yeah. Are there players that you guys are loving in terms of parlay? If you were to do a 3-4 parlay, which games would you like? Which players would you like?
You mean to like score a touchdown or something like that?
Score a touchdown or get yardage or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I had not thought of that. Yeah. Is there a TD guy you guys like?
I mean, here's what I'm looking at, right? Like if you're looking at these early games, Commanders, you know that Jaden Daniels is going to either run for a touchdown or he's going to throw for a touchdown. So I'm pretty confident about that one, right?
The throwing touchdowns don't count, though. For touchdowns, throwing touchdowns don't count. You have to either receive or run it in, just so that people know out there. If you bet on a touchdown, them scoring a touchdown, it doesn't count if you throw it.
No, but if you go to the instead of it's not the anytime touchdowns, but if you go to the quarterback, you have to do it that way because that's how I do it. Because the first time I was like, oh, of course Jaden Daniels is going to score a touchdown, so I picked it, and I realized, oh, it doesn't count. So you actually have to go to the quarterback as well too. So yeah.
I would say another one is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's been a touchdown machine. They're playing the Bengals at home. I could see Derrick Henry getting a TD there. That would be one.
Yeah.
If I was to look at the Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers, I would probably bet against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to bet Najee Harris needs a touchdown. He has not scored a touchdown. This would be a good week for Najee Harris. And I think George Pickens will score a touchdown as well, too.
Interesting. I kind of like Dallas in that game, actually. Pittsburgh is a 2.5-point favorite. I just feel like Dallas, again, Dallas has every couple weeks, every few weeks, Dallas will have one really good game.
Yes.
I could see this being that game. So I don't know. That's interesting.
I think if you look at the game between the Packers and the Rams, I think that actually would be a pretty good game for Jordan Love as well, too. And Wicks has come on the last couple of weeks. So the Rams have a bad defense outside of a Jared Verse, but I would pick a Jordan Love scoring touchdowns, throwing a touchdown. But I actually think Wicks might be a pretty good player to look at.
And Josh Jacobs, he hasn't scored a touchdown in a few weeks. He's actually due for a very big game, actually.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Hey, I know Jed has work, but any other thoughts as we begin to wrap up here for parlays, for bets, for fantasy football? Any other thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you this: you got two straight games coming up, right? That the Bears are playing Carolina, and then the Bears are playing the Jaguars as well too. They better win both of these games because they are easy wins. But like we said, I can see the Bears losing these games because these are the types of games that they lose. But they better win these games.
I'll just say for our 1K league, for those of you out there, congrats to Isaac's incredible team who's in first place. But Jimmy and I are doing pretty good in second and third place. Tommy, you're in 8th right now out of 12. So keep churning, keep grinding. We got to remember, one of the three of us has to get into the top 4. Otherwise, we got to stop this podcast. So.
Yeah. And Jed, I would probably say the guy who's killing me and the reason I'm sitting in 8th place right now, Garrett Wilson kills me every single week. He is destroying me.
Hey, I'll take him. You don't want him, I'll take him.
Yeah.
Hey, someone also in that league dropped Calvin Ridley, so I went ahead and picked up Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I saw that. That's not a bad. Yeah, that's not a bad pickup. I saw that.
Yeah. I will say that a lot of people have been dropping Javonte Williams out there in Denver. And I still think Javonte Williams is worth some value. He's been coming on the last few weeks. So if people have dropped him, I would say pick up a Javonte Williams on your lineup because I've seen him dropped in our 1K league and a couple other leagues too.
Yeah, I do enjoy Javonte Williams, and I still have high hopes for Javonte Williams.
By the way, Jimmy, I don't like that we don't have kickers in our 1K league. I miss being able to cheer for the Atlanta kicker, Koo. Like he had that amazing 58-yarder last week, so I do kind of miss that.
Yep. And Aubrey, a lot of times Aubrey has been sensational. So in some sense, I would love to have Aubrey on my team to help out with some of those things.
Yeah, for any of you guys listening with kickers in your league, do a quick check on your kicker and I know everybody picks their kicker and then they just forget about it, but do a quick check because sometimes your kicker now that you drafted, he's outside the top 10. Just pick up one of those guys. It could be worth 1, 2, 3 points that could win you a week.
Oh my gosh, the kickers, you could sit there and play around with them every single week. It's the same thing with team defenses. Yep. I sat there and clicked on Baltimore the other day. I said, wow, they're pretty low. They only got 20-something points. And then I clicked on Minnesota and other teams. I said, wow, they're doing really, really well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Right. Good seeing you.
Sounds great. Thanks.
All right.